It didn't take much more than a bottle and 2 chairs to make a speakeasy. This is what Daniel Okrent said in his book, Last Call, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition. Today, join us for some stories. Get your own bottle, glass, or mug, and relax. This is Speak Easily, and I'm your host, Krista Stauffer.
No, I'm from a small town outside of Cleveland.
Small town?
Wellington. It's just south of Oberlin.
Did you have stoplights?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not that small.
Yeah.
I feel that's like the
There's
thought.
definitely spots in that.
Where we used to be
Northwest
the cheese capital of the world. We were part
world?
of the world.
That's kind of a big statement, don't you think?
It was before Wisconsin.
Like before
Switzerland?
Wisconsin was a state?
I don't know. Probably. I think it was probably before
in
they
the 1760s.
grew in cheese. We also were part of like the Underground Railroad, and there's like a big slave escape thing that's in the history books.
Okay.
The Spirit of 76 painting was painted there.
Oh, so there's some notoriety with Wellington.
Trump did a rally there.
Fun.
That's great.
I made sure not to go home that weekend.
That's probably a good one to stay away from. How many people did you graduate with?
Like just under 100.
That's tiny. Where did you go to high school then?
I was homeschooled.
You were homeschooled?
Yeah.
Whole time?
Kindergarten through senior year.
Really?
Yeah. My parents used to teach at Columbus Public.
Okay.
Did that for a while, and they were like, I'm not going to send our kids there.
Okay.
So,
homeschool.
yeah.
But it was mostly online at that point in time?
it
Or was
really
all still...
wasn't. It was all... Well, Ohio doesn't really have any laws, and so it was just like activity books and
Oh, wow.
like whatever my parents wanted to do, and then you get a certified teacher just to sign a piece of paper annually, and you're good. So,
Man.
yeah, I'm not even certain I graduated high school, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I know I have a BA, but I'm not
Should we
sure I have
fact
a
check
high school
Well, you
diploma.
got in. I mean...
I have dreams all the time that I have to go back to high school, and I'm like, I have a bachelor's.
I did
How did I not
I think
do
that
this?
supersedes the other one.
That sounds like a pure nightmare. I don't know.
Like I'm still dreaming about like being late to school and like forgetting my clarinet. I'm like, why am I still dreaming about this?
Did it happen a lot?
No.
I think I will sometimes have what translates now differently, but I had the summer reading dreams. Did you guys have to do? Well, you didn't. You were.
No, I didn't do
You
anything,
were.
yeah.
The requirements
it
of like
one
summer
summer.
reading for. I took AP Lit my senior year upon my mother's pushing, and yes, it ended up being the best class I ever took in high school. However, we had to read 8 books over the summer. Wow. It was brutal. But to find usually somewhere early August of where you just wake up in a sheer panic because you've dreamt that you haven't read anything. And it's the first day of school. So I think that's now the actor's nightmare, but that was the one that I had for a long time. After high school even, was that I hadn't done my summer reading.
That's why.
I'm a nerd. So that was, but it was not fun. Summer projects in general are stupid, I think.
Yeah.
I don't like 'em.
I understand the theory.
Yeah.
But it it's not what summer's for.
Nobody starts it.
Right.
Everybody's
Like I
waiting
liked
still.
reading, but I did not like doing summer reading. I'm like, don't make me read a boring history book.
And some of them were good. Even for college, we had to read one, and it was terrible.
For summer, before you like went or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
They had the common book.
Yeah.
It was not good. It was, I don't remember her name. I don't remember much about it. It was set in Appalachia, so that was kind of the focus on it. And it was sort of like a mystery love story kind of thing. And then the author would come to the school and talk about the book. So they thought it would be wise that the theater students wrote their own creative play about the book.
That's not any pressure
It
at
was
all.
not good. We made fun of it as gently as we could. I think the main character went through the decades, and there was a full Austin Powers dance that went on for this character. I don't think she enjoyed it very much, but yeah, we're like dance break. Yeah, that's what you get when you ask theater students to make something up like that.
We had Michael Eisner is a Denison grad. And so he gave us like
Michael Eisner.
whatever, a bunch of money to build a big Eisner Center
Yeah.
at Denison. And his one request was that the theater, the student independent theater, put on a production. Apparently, he produced the show on Netflix, BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
Like the cartoon.
Yeah.
And he wanted a live theater production of BoJack Horseman. And so the like independent theater students had to like write and then perform for Michael Eisner a like 45-minute.
That's intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I knew a bunch of people that were in it, and I mean, it turned out well.
Yeah.
I was surprised, but yeah, it was just like a weird request that he made of like, I'm going to give you guys $11 million and make me a 45-minute play.
Yeah, if you have the money, you can tell people to do whatever you want.
Dance, monkeys. To BoJack Horseman. Oh, was it a straight play, musical? It would make a good musical.
I feel like there was definitely some musical components in there.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't wear like masks or anything.
Interesting.
They had like shadows, like silhouettes of the characters moving on flats behind the actors.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
like they were in conjunction. It was like not tacky. Like I went in like worried that there was going to be like big paper things or whatever, and it ended up being pretty good.
Sock puppets.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, something like that.
Wow. Were there any puppets in your movie?
No, we should have had some, but that was not quite the theme.
Have you done a movie about puppets yet?
No, I was a puppeteer
Yet.
for a while.
Are you really?
I was, yeah. I performed with the Columbus Puppetry Guild.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know if they're around anymore. I was little. I was like
my
12,
gosh.
13. Yeah.
What did you do? Like,
I just did like hand puppets.
well, I mean, I
Yeah.
got the puppet thing, but like,
Where they're puppets.
where are they? No, but I mean, did you do shows in like libraries or fairs or just wherever?
I remember specifically like libraries and preschools doing
Okay.
like,
Were they educational type things?
they were
or-
like children's fairy tale interpretations that were like 10
You were really
12 minutes.
fighting off the girls, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
with his sock puppet. Bam, bam. I think it's great. I love puppets though.
I do too. I mean, I'm still obsessed.
Okay.
Yeah. I would love to do a puppet thing
you
at some
should.
point.
Have you heard of Sesame Street?
So my dream job at some point in my life was to be a puppet operator on Sesame Street. But that's not like a Googleable position. Not like
not.
I tried at some point. I was like, how do I? And it was like, you don't. There's like 8 people in the world that do
Now,
it.
there are some puppet things happening in Columbus. There's a group that's called Puppet Queers.
Okay.
That they do a show actually every Thanksgiving it's a full musical show with puppets. It's
Wow.
not rated G. Let's
I
put it
would
that
imagine.
way.
Yeah.
Yes. In the realm of Avenue Q. Do you know Avenue Q?
I think
Okay.
so.
That was actually my first.
How do you not
professional
know
show.
Avenue Q and you love
should,
puppets?
You should know Avenue Q.
Okay.
Because it was done by a lot of the people that were on Sesame Street. John
Okay.
Tartaglia, Rick Lyon made all the puppets. He's still a puppeteer.
Yeah.
I can't remember some of the other cast, but a lot of them came from the Sesame Street or puppeteering world and wrote a dirty musical that starred both puppets and people.
Okay.
And it's wonderful.
All right.
I don't know how good it is anymore.
Is it a movie? Like, is there a? It was just
Probably
like
not.
a.
It was a
Okay.
Broadway show.
Okay. Gotcha.
There's some topics in there that probably don't really fly anymore. Some songs that
You wouldn't.
not gonna be great
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But that was the first professional show I did in Columbus. Was Avenue Q. Yeah, so I got to have dirty puppet sex on stage. There were, I mean, it was choreographed, like
Yeah.
positions.
Oh, yeah. That's.
My grandparents came.
Hand sex.
I was like, I sure hope they sit on the other side of the theater for this one. And then at the end, I was like, Grandma, I'm sorry, it was pretty raunchy. She's like, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I'm kind of like, now we need to talk, Grandma. This was pretty bad. So you guys made a movie. What is the title of your film?
It's called "I'll See You on Thanksgiving."
See You on Thanksgiving. So this was probably written because movies are not a short thing. When was this? Did you write this as well?
I did write this.
Okay.
And so it was a relatively quick turnaround from writing to production. So
Okay.
I think I wrote it about a year ago. And then we went into principal photography in March of this past year.
Explain principal photography, because that makes me think of school and the principal sits down for his picture for the year.
No, so that was just filming the script. So just the general kind of shooting from beginning to end of the script that we had or that I had written.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you film it then? What time of year?
It was March.
So still chilly
So
enough to
it
be.
was-
Yeah, it still looks like November.
Okay. Thanks, Ohio.
That was the thought, is like, can we get this basically before leaves start coming on the trees so that we can make it conceivably feel like November. And, to be fair, it was cold enough that...
It was very cold. We had an outdoor scene, and it was very cold.
It feels convincing when you watch it. Like, oh, yeah, this could be November, for sure.
It sucks outside. Yeah, that's great. Oh, my gosh. So then you wrote this thing. How did you find folks for it?
Yeah, so one of the leads, her name is Kellyanne Ross, and I had worked with her previously. She's kind of an old friend of mine. And so she signed on to the project relatively early. So once we had a, kind of draft of the script ready, she read it, loved it, was ready to come on. And so the script is about 5 friends getting together for Thanksgiving. And so I needed a cast for other people. And we were dealing with a really, really micro budget. And so there was no room to actually pay anyone. And so I put out a posting in a couple of Ohio casting groups. And I just said, hey, I'm making this movie, looking to cast these 4 roles, and got a ton of feedback from Ohio people that were interested in being in it. Yeah. One of which ended up being Kaitlyn.
Yes.
I love that.
I did that.
You did that. You're like, this is me. Pick me. And you've done, how many films have you done at this point?
This is my first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've done other stuff before.
Yeah, I've done theater
stuff.
but nothing ever on film.
Okay. How do you feel about the transition from stage to screen? Because it is a huge difference.
Yeah. It's very stressful in terms of learning the role, because I think we got the script and a week later we were filming, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't have time for this.
Yep.
So that was very stressful. I'm like, not entirely sure I'm going to have my lines memorized when I show up. And most of the time I didn't. But it was fine because we would film a page. I'm like, I can memorize a page.
Yep. That's what I love about it. So much less stressful in that sense. But I find it hard too of you're not necessarily going in order all the time. So we're filming this, but we're doing, okay, but then this is here. So you're just trying to figure out how this all works instead of going from start to finish, which never happens, but at least not in my experience. That's got to be. Or when you're trying to build a role and you've studied for this character, and it's like, well, but I'm just sitting in here. What do I do in this shot? What's my motivation?
Yeah.
I'm sitting.
Yeah, the first couple of scenes we shot was a lot of sitting down, just talking. And I'm like, how am I supposed to just sit and listen? I feel like I'm not acting enough.
The sitting, the emotional sitting.
Yeah.
I get that. So you found your actors.
Yes.
And then where did you decide? Are you in Columbus for filming?
I am in Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the time, I was living and working out of this property down in Clintonville. And the whole premise of this was I just graduated from college. I wanted to start this film production company. I wanted to actually make movies. And so it was let's do something. Martin Scorsese's first film that I don't know if it ever really got released, but it was just him filming in in New York City, in people's apartments, because that's what he had access to. And so he wrote something that fit that location. And so, with this project, I wrote a script that fit the location that I already had. And so I just wrote it for the house that I was in. And so there were scenes.
Which is a really cool house, by the way.
Oh, nice. In Clintonville?
In Clintonville.
Okay.
It's a weird place, the Clintonville Mystery House, as some journalists have dubbed it.
Why?
Because it's kind of wild. So my grandparents bought it back in 1971.
Okay.
And did foster care there for about 40 years.
Oh, wow.
30 years, something like that. Okay. Had 200 foster students or foster kids come through there. Yeah. And basically tripled the house in size. And so it went from this normal Clintonville home to added on the back, added on the top, dug out from the bottom. There's a bridge, and then the garage got expanded. So this has been the project of the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Of my family kind of owning and working on this place. And so I was like, let's make a film that, we can shoot in this kind of unique location and take advantage of the space, and then just do that on the front end with the writing and just write something that actually maps to the location. Yeah. And that way, when we got on set, there's no little configurations of oh, this is supposed to be here, but actually, I could go to the rooms in the house if I'm working out a scene and be well, they're going to be there, and then they're going to walk over here, and then do this.
Oh, that's helpful.
So it made it super easy. Plus, most of the film takes place in that one house, so we could kind of use it as a home base as well while we were working.
And spread out, clearly.
Yeah.
Had some space there. How many kids do they have at one time?
I don't think probably 7 or 8 was the max ever at once. They were the foster home that other foster homes would send their kids to when they misbehaved.
Oh, geez.
So there'd be like foster international students that ended up with them like back in the 80s and 90s. Like, you know, kids that were, you know, they're doing drugs or they're, you know, being, I don't know, having many issues that, you know, foster kids do. And so, yeah, that was their like life mission was to do that in Columbus.
Wow.
And they did. Yeah.
I think that's going to be me one day.
Yeah.
Oh. Not me. I will not be signing up for that position. I will give them all to you.
I'm licensing to be a foster parent right now.
That's
wow.
amazing. That's amazing. What do you have to go through for that?
A lot of really boring trainings.
Okay.
And then like they interview you. You have to like get your house like
probably top to
inspected.
bottom, I would assume.
Yeah. A bunch of stuff.
Ugh. And you don't get to choose who you get. I mean, they just give them to
Well,
you.
no, they
To some
they
degree?
like say, hey, this is the kid that we have. Here's the information we have about them. Is this something you can do? Wow. But then you don't always know what you're getting yourself into.
And you don't know how long either, right?
No.
Because there's still, I mean, with the foster system, they're still seeking adoption and all of that, I would assume.
Yeah, well, first they want to do reunification. So they have like 2 years to try to get reunified with their parents. And then
Okay.
after that, it typically goes towards adoptions.
Jeez. So these are kids, unfortunately, who probably have been removed from the home or kicked out of the home or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that typical? That's rough. That's a lot. I commend you. That is amazing. And to your family as well. That's not something I could do. Deal with my own too enough as is. But so all of this home that you had and you had the space to do it, you start filming. What happened? Tell us about the process.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shot a lot of pieces. It's been a while since I've shot anything this long before. It's about 100 pages. But I think because all of those variables were sort of locked down, that it was a tight cast, kind of one location for the most part, we went through the film relatively quickly. So we shot 100 pages in 12 days.
That's great.
And they weren't even full. I mean, there were a lot of times 4 to 6 hour days that we were shooting, and just knocking out scene after scene after scene. So I was so impressed by just like the dedication and the passion that everyone who was part of the cast and even the crew that came in had to like actually take this, you know, stack of paper and then make it into something that people can go and watch.
And that's got to be scary for other people to take what you've written and make it make sense. Did you
Yes.
have to do a lot of rewrites as you were going? Did any of that have to happen, or?
There was a little bit. There were scenes that just, for whatever reason, as we were progressing in the script, and we did shoot kind of chronologically, not perfectly at all, but we tried to start with the beginning of the film and then move toward the end of the film. So the last frame of the film is the last thing we shot.
Oh, cool.
Besides a couple of pickups. But
Yeah.
we the goal was to basically kind of capture that chronologically. But yeah, there were times when we needed to kind of flesh out a scene or maybe add a couple of lines of dialogue. I remember there was a scene that we shot in like a local shop that it was you and Kelly, and I ended up giving you guys like a fresh, you know,
Yeah.
few pages for the scene.
And I
just
was
to
like,
give it a
great,
little
I
more.
barely knew the lines to begin with, and now I have
Now
new
you're
ones.
adding more.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Cool,
And you could tell when we were filming, I was like, we're in someone else's business. There's other people here, and I don't know my lines at all.
How apt are people to, like, at a coffee shop? Are they pretty willing to let you come in and do shots there?
It depends on the location. So, you know, people get weird when there's a camera.
Oh, yeah. They do.
They get less weird when the camera is not on a tripod. So, like, if we have it on a gimbal, you know, like we're holding it, basically, people tend to be a little more chill. The moment, like, a tripod goes down or they can see a microphone, people just, like, act weirder.
Yeah, they
where
do.
it's like they'll walk into the background of a shot, and instead of just, like, going about their day and walking through, they, like, stop and they look and then they, like, back up. And so...
Love that.
Thankfully, most of the film we didn't have to go in public and shoot, but there was a handful of days that we were.
at the store we were filming at, he was just like getting, random B-roll shots kind of things. And Ryan, he had like a vase he was pretending was a bong. And he like gestures towards this random man to like see if he wants to take a hit. And he's like, "Are you filming a movie?" And we're like, "You ruined it. You ruined it all."
That's not in the script. And cut. Oh, yeah, people do get weirded out. I mean, I guess especially in public places where you assume you're just going to be sitting there and doing your thing.
Right.
Suddenly there's a camera there.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I'm kind of like, oh, cool. I'll be in
Yeah.
the background. I'm going to be even more fun than usual. Yes. I remember being in a restaurant.
Do you need any other roles cast?
Right. What's the background actually doing in this shot
What's
here?
my motivation?
Right. I see that you are smoking a bong, sir. How is it? Yeah. That's wonderful. So then you've done a million movies before. When did you start filmmaking?
The sexy story that I tell people is that when I was a little kid, my parents didn't let me watch a lot of television.
Okay.
And so my act of rebellion was to say, I'll make it myself.
Aw.
And I
like
never stopped. So I have VHS tapes that go back to 2007.
What was the first? Do you remember?
It was little Lego minifigures doing stop motion animation on a 1997 JVC camcorder.
Okay. Did you edit, or was this just like a straight through kind of?
There was a lot of straight through stuff at
Yeah.
the beginning. I edited my first film. I did an adaptation of Willy Wonka with my friends at age 9.
Okay.
And that was the first time I learned how to use. It was Final Cut at the time.
Was VHS tapes?
These were on this was like serious VHS
Oh, this
tapes.
was like cutting and.
It was Firewire conversion, and it was just like the old school way of it was just gross. Like it was so much
Yeah.
work. Now you just plug a card in and
Right.
it's there instantly. So
Jeez.
yeah, I got to kind of experience that. Even, I mean, it was like the old tech at the time, but it was what people would let me use.
But clearly your parents were supportive because
Oh, yeah.
we didn't have that kind of equipment. I mean, there were some really cool videos I made in my attic as well, but a lot of school projects, a lot of dumb videos for school. But so your Lego men then went into Willy Wonka. And
Yeah.
parents would watch all of that. Would you make them sit down and watch everything? And
For the Willy Wonka one, we hosted a premiere at my house and projected the film up.
I want to see this.
Yeah,
you really should put that up. Yeah. Yeah. And it was kids from the neighborhood?
it was friends of mine. We shot. It took a year
Put it on
to shoot
before the movie.
it. Okay, yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
It's only 20 minutes long. We could watch it.
Yeah.
Definitely a trailer. Yes. kind of like the Pixar has the shorts. but
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go. So then, Kaitlyn, what's your theatrical journey?
So I started theater in high school. Really enjoyed that. I started college as a film major.
Okay.
And I quickly realized I was not supposed to be behind the camera. Very, very bad. All of my projects, we would have a different project due every week, and it was only supposed to be a 1-minute thing. And we had to incorporate whatever the lesson was that week. And every single time, we would show it in front of the class, and they would kind of critique it and stuff. And every time I could just tell they were just looking at me why? Because I always wanted to my big thing. I double majored in film and social work, and so I was I want to make movies that matter. And so I tried to do that with every 1-minute thing, and it never works because you have 1 minute. So yeah, I did that for a year, and also, I don't know if I can say this, but OSU's film program is not good.
Okay.
So
Well, it's rather new, right?
Yeah, I when I was there, it was the second year that it existed.
Oh, jeez.
So maybe it's better now, but it was not good when I was there. And so yeah, after a year, I was like, this is not for me, and I just stuck with social work. So I didn't do any theater or film the rest of college, and then when I graduated, I was in a really rough place, and I was I just need to do something, get off the couch. And I was I'm gonna try out for a play, and I auditioned for a couple different things and did not get cast in anything. I was because I was probably the best person in my high school drama club, but small town. I was like, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. And I was like, well, at the end of the day, like, I just want to act. I'm going to sign up for an acting class.
Oh, cool.
And so I signed up for Broadway to LA. And literally, like, the week after I did the first class, I got cast in a play. I'm like, wow, this really works. So, yeah, since then, like, I've, like, made a lot of new friends in the world and been in a lot of different plays and stuff, and just
keep going.
keep going.
Keep going. Well, and you were both in school pandemic time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, oof. I mean, that's got to change your mind about school in general, I would think.
Yeah, I had it planned that I was going to go to the Peace Corps and then do law school. That did not happen. I applied for the Peace Corps. And of course, because it was the middle of the pandemic, it took forever.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, we're not sending people right now, but we'll still go through the process. And kind of like towards the end, I could kind of tell just by the interview, they didn't like me. But I was like, I don't think I actually want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Did not get accepted. And I was like, I'm fine. I don't want to do this. And yeah, graduating, I was like...
And you pieced out of there.
Yeah. Core memory.
Nicely done.
So, yeah, and then I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. I always planned on moving out of Ohio because I hated Ohio. So I was, like, applying to some jobs in California and Tennessee and wasn't getting any luck. And then I realized, like, maybe I don't hate Ohio. Maybe I just hate my hometown because Columbus is actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I just found a local job and have been there since and have stayed in Columbus.
I agree with you on that statement. I don't like Ohio, but I love Columbus. There's something about, like, I don't like necessarily being away from Columbus or found somewhere that's just like, you know, I could live here. I could do this thing.
Yeah.
I like it here. We even had somebody from Texas that said, this town reminds me of Austin. So I know that there's pockets of the world that, like Charlotte, I've heard is similar vibe with the art scene and just kind of a good people feel to it, sort of like that. Austin, that's about all I've heard at this point.
Yeah.
But I would do Austin for sure.
Austin seems fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it weird.
I know Austin's supposed to be different, but I just feel like they wouldn't let me inside of Texas.
Why?
Like, they would just see me at the border and they're like, you don't belong here.
I think you'd be okay. I think you'd fit in just fine.
My dad says the same thing about California. If you got to the border, they'd be like, sir, turn around.
This is not for you. No, I think you'd be fine. I think you'd be okay. I have faith in you. I've seen your work. Where would you move? I mean, if you had to up and go, where would you go?
Oh, goodness.
You said not LA either.
Not LA. I thought I would like New York, and I spent a week there, and I was like, this is just too much. Like, people are mean. People say that they're not mean. They're mean in New York. And I like how nice everybody is in the Midwest. I would move somewhere else in the Midwest. But, yeah, I have a similar feeling of just, like, I grew up in Clintonville, in Columbus. Not a fan of it. I used to call it just, concrete city. But as I got older, I realized just how much I do actually enjoy this place. And as I got the opportunity to travel to other places and go, oh, this is not, whether it's just like the friendliness or the just kind of warmth that this place has, like that's what I really enjoy.
Yeah. A lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are helping each other out here as opposed to, trying to gun over one another for positions or opportunity or whatever.
I mean, of course, that still happens as well. But I think we find those people a lot quicker and be like, oh, I want to work with you.
Right.
Cool. Thanks for that.
There's like a plasticky feeling. Like when you go to LA and your waiter is like trying to pitch his, film to you, you're like, this is a little bit too much for me.
Let me eat my sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually went to LA for the first time this past year. Had never been, even growing up in Colorado, for some reason. We went everywhere else, but we never hit LA. Probably parents didn't want to go. And this was in the day. This will show you how old I am. My father worked for the airlines. So we were able to, Mom would say we would leave church, we would get on an airplane, we would fly from Denver to Dallas, have a 3:00 dinner in Dallas, and fly home.
Wow.
Because we could fly non-revenue.
That's cool.
for free, so we could go wherever we wanted, essentially for free.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, this is still
You're the reason why it's 70 degrees in December.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to. It was fun. We were also the kids. We used to fly so often that my sister and I loved turbulence. We thought it was so much fun. I am not like that now, but when the plane would go whoomp, everybody's freaking out that they're going to die, and my sister and I are like, do it again. Yeah, that's terrible. Now thinking of that, I would have also wanted to smack me. But yeah, we did a lot of flying as kids, so it was sort of like, yeah. But LA, being there as an adult, was kind of like, this is fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live here, but
I don't think I could do the traffic. I get mad in Columbus traffic, and I know it's nothing.
right. People here are just dumb. I think that's the difference.
They don't let you merge on the highway.
No.
I will never get over that.
No, they'll be the nicest person in the world, but get them in that little metal thing. Nope. I don't. I've stopped. I'm not a flick off kind of person in general. That doesn't do anything for me.
If you thumbs up them,
I do that a lot.
thumbs down
Or I
them.
wave to them. Yeah.
like there's nothing worse than getting a thumbs down from a stranger.
Yeah. What I've also realized, and when you begin fostering, you could use this. I pass this on to you. The mom look, it works really well. Some dude cut me off, and I was able to see him, and I just went, and he was like, sorry. I don't know. It worked. It worked so well. People are unkind in cars in general here, and I think we carry that with us too. Like, when I lived in Kentucky for a portion of time, I always had to drive south, pass through Cincinnati, and of course you always hit big traffic in there. And it was just this day where people were being idiots and nobody was letting anybody over, and this dude cuts me off. And I'm like, getting really mad in the car. Then, of course, I stop right next to him, and I'm like, shoot. And I look over, and I can see he's going like this. And I'm like, oh, golly. And this man from the South goes, ma'am, I'm very sorry I cut you off back there. And it's like, it's okay. I never felt worse about anything because he was genuinely kind about apologizing, and just like, yeah, inside myself for another half an hour after that. So, but anyway, I digress. Where would you move to if you had?
I don't know. I'm pretty open to a lot of different places. Like New England, I love the Gilmore Girls vibe. So if it's not like that, then I don't want it. Or even like out west. California, Oregon, Washington. I don't know. Like, I'd be open to a lot of different places. I don't think I would just up and move someplace. I would need a reason to move.
Yeah. But not LA. You wouldn't do the California. Well, but
maybe. That's where I was applying to a lot of jobs. Because at the time, I was like, I'm going to be a famous actress. I'm going to do this. And then I applied to a lot of different agencies in Columbus just to get started, and no one wanted me. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't go to LA just yet.
Yeah. It's awful. In general, it's an awful business. It's exceedingly hard. It's constant doubt, constant imposter syndrome. I know you both go through that. So, like, what have you experienced in that realm? How do you get yourself out of it?
I have a lot of friends who know nothing about the industry, and so they just think I'm the coolest person in the world. I kind of hate having to explain, I'm in a movie and I have an agent and, all this stuff, because they're just like, oh, my God, you're famous. And I'm like, I promise you I promise you it's the, furthest thing from that. It feels really good when I'm the coolest person in my friend group. But then also I'm like, I really hate to tell you this, but I am in a movie. Please come see this.
It is hard, especially when you keep working. You're just like, okay, well, there's another one. Okay, I know I just got done with the show, but now I have to
text all of her friends, hey, come with me to see her show. So that I'm not like, please, people, come see
And
me.
it's hard. It's hard to get out there and support people. And, when you've got other stuff going on, and to see films and to, hey, download this, please.
Right.
Please download this and watch it. Actually watch it.
Yeah.
Don't just download it and say you downloaded it. It was great. It is hard to support, especially when there's so many things going on too. So how do you deal with the imposter syndrome?
The imposter syndrome, I don't know. For me, I do feel that certain just not wanting to badger people about coming to this thing or watch this thing. But, you know, for me, I've been doing this for long enough that I just feel, I don't know if I necessarily still feel imposter syndrome when it comes to filmmaking at this point.
Can you hand some of that over on this side of the table?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a little bit, but when I tend to be the one kind of creating the situations in which I'm working, right? And so if I'm writing and directing these pieces and then bringing everybody in, then it's sort of on me to make the situation work. And I like those a lot better than having to do stuff for other people.
I agree with that.
So there's a certain, like, having control over the situation in those ways, I think probably makes it a little bit easier for me. Yeah.
Where did the idea for the plot come? Was this biographical to some degree?
No, it's not at all. No, but there are definitely certain elements that I pulled from real life. You know, this is about a group of 5 friends who were super close in college, who have kind of since fallen out and are now reuniting for Thanksgiving. And I think in part, the idea of the film for me was just to kind of capture what I was feeling as a recent college grad and trying to kind of assimilate what it means to now move from, okay, this was this existence that I had in this strange little bubble out in a cornfield that was just kind of all self-contained, and now you're like in the real world, and these relationships that you had that you thought were going to last your whole life are starting to fall apart.
Yeah.
So I kind of see it as, in many ways, just a therapeutic process of like, let me write this down. I'm not gonna attempt to kind of do a one-to-one correlation at all. But what are the different things that I'm experiencing, and how can I then capture that through 5 characters? And one of my good friends, Devin, who worked as the production manager on the film, she said, like, as I was, reading the script and hearing this, like, what I realized is that, you look at these 5 people in the film and, maybe there's some correlation between these people and other people that I've met in real life, but in reality, they're all fragments of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that's what it is as a writer, is you're just like, in order to write someone, in order to inhabit their life, you have to kind of take a little bit of yourself and say, okay, how would I feel if,
Right.
I then occupy this space of the character? And so, I do see it as kind of the self-contained parts of like trying to deal with graduating college, kind of in conflict with one another, and then playing that out in a drama.
Yeah. And it is hard. I mean, everybody graduating from college is sort of like, oh, shoot, like, I don't know what to do. This is the first time I'm having to deal with life and things, and nobody's around me and making friends, and they're not there draining tuna in the anyway. But tell me about your favorite day of shooting. What was the favorite?
Whew, that's a tough one. Do you have a favorite day, Kaitlyn?
I don't know.
Or a favorite scene, or...
I really liked the scene when we were, like, fighting in the kitchen. Because, again, like, I was finally not, like, sitting down talking. I was putting away groceries, and I'm like, this is real acting. And there's just, like, a lot of improv. And, like, even when, like, the cameras would cut, we were still fighting over who was right and who was wrong.
It was fantastic to watch. I have so much behind the scenes footage of just like you guys arguing like about the story content in the scene, even while no cameras are rolling.
Yeah. And like Yuli would purposely just try to like make us mad.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And he's like, no, like you girls are so wrong. And we're like, have you read the script? Like even like the script says that we're right. And like, yeah, we would just get so passionate about it. And then, yeah, we would just be like, okay, we're rolling now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
We stopped? Oh, that's great. Do you have a...
I do. So we ended up deciding, as we were shooting this, we were like, we need a little piece at the beginning. We need something to start the movie with. It was going to just kind of start in November. And we were like, well, why don't we give a flashback? Why don't we start in May at the very end of college, have that as a little bump at the beginning, and then we get into the movie. And so this was something I wrote mid-shoot. And we found a little location nearby to shoot it in. And it was just this like really loose scene with all 5 of them in one location.
Probably already a little bit drunk.
Potentially. Potentially.
We did get the drink on set.
Okay. Oh. That's a good problem to have. Yep.
Well, and all of you guys knew each other well enough at that point that there was like a real, you were following the script and you said the lines of dialogue, but there was like a looseness and like a connectivity that like really came through on camera. And that was at a point where we had 2 cameras rolling at the same time. And so we were getting pretty decent coverage. And so there was more room for improv that then could be incorporated into the final edit. And we were just along enough in the process that it really felt good to like shoot that. And it was an easy shoot. It probably took an hour. It was not long, but it was fun.
Well, that's nice because that solidifies the closeness that people have at the end of everything, wanting to stay together and making plans and making promises. And I like that. I like that a lot. What was the hardest day of shooting?
We had some long ones.
Yeah.
We had some days where we just needed to get a lot done. And in particular, we were shooting, there's one location in the house that's this pit. And so like, it's a 70s conversation pit. We have like 4 or 5 of the scenes that take place in the 70s conversation pit.
Okay.
And
what were the point of those? Truly just conversation.
I think just conversation. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it works great for conversation.
Sure
I can tell
does. You can't go anywhere.
No, everyone's kind of forced to look at each other. It works fantastic.
That's how therapists should do it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
A little intimidating. Anyway, I digress.
We had a series of scenes. We blacked out the windows. It was supposed to be night. And we had a series of scenes. They weren't complicated, but there was a lot going on. Again, these are scenes where you have all 5 of the characters, and it wasn't...
Is this the one where Kelly got high?
Where Kelly like got high, yeah. Where her character was supposed to be high, so she's dancing and there's no music playing, and she's like, "This is awkward. I don't know what I'm doing." And so trying to like coordinate all of that and get the shots that we needed, and we were like, this was like hour 6 of 12. Like it was just draining at that point, and so. I just remember like brewing another pot of coffee and like sitting down and going, okay, how are we going to knock this thing out in a reasonable amount of time? And we did get it, but it was just a lot of coverage in a very small space. And it was freezing outside and we couldn't really have the heat on because it would show up in the background. So everyone's like cold. It was rough, but we made it through.
Yeah. That is a lot. It's hard to get everything you need. And then I think as a director, I can't imagine, did I get everything? You know, like, do we have everything we need because you're going so out of order? And like, did we get all of this? Did we get all of this? I mean, I'm directing a musical right now and trying to think through, did we do this page? Have we done this? Have we blocked this page? Do we know this page yet? And I cannot imagine just going so out of context that you have to remember everything that you've done up to that point. But I guess that's what other people are for too, which is probably nice.
That is true. I had I had a script that we were like crossing out as we were going. And we had the luxury. We shot 12 days or over the course of a month. Right. And so between those days, I would edit everything that we had shot so far.
Okay.
And so we kind of had this luxury as we were going to be like, okay, we've shot scenes 3 and 5 and 7, and now we're going to get this one here, and then this is going to go right after this. Let's watch it. How are you dressed? Oh, that shirt's a little untucked. Yeah. Right. Like we were able to kind of, because we had the time, and I think also you have a certain momentum kind of when you're in that process of like, I want to see this. Did I get it?
Yeah.
Whereas at the end of the shoot, if you're sitting there with 4 terabytes of footage on your hard drive going, oh my gosh, I have to now start with scene 1, shot 1, and start editing this thing. So that was sort of a helpful cue to make sure like, oh, we got it. And if there was anything we needed to reshoot, we had the actors still coming in regularly so we could capture it.
Because that I'm sure of like, when everything is wrapped and then you're like, oh, we didn't get that shot and now we can't. You run into that?
I've run into that on past projects. With this one, we were lucky enough. The last thing we shot was actually for the opening title sequence with you and Yuli. And he like really wanted to get his hair cut. And it was like, just hold on. It's like, we need to schedule a date. Just like, let us shoot this sequence before you get your hair cut. But yeah, luckily for this one, we were like pretty solid with everything to not have to kind of go back and reshoot stuff that we had already shot.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
You told me on Easter, you're like, hey, I might have something else for you to film. Like, I might have written like a new scene, and then you never did. What was that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
that was the puppet scene.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about, so I think there's this sort of trajectory when you watch your film where you're like, I love it, I hate it, I love it, I hate it. And it kind of oscillates between these. And I remember watching the first like rough cut that I did of the whole thing from start to finish. And I just, what every reaction is like, this is a terrible film. No one's going to ever want to watch this.
Right.
This is awful. And you're just like pointing out your own flaws. And in my head at that point, I was like, well, maybe if we add a couple of scenes in that would be interspersed. At the end, there's a scene where two of the characters are sitting out on the deck having a conversation. Lasts for like 9 minutes. And so I had this vision at some point of like maybe interspersed in there, we have a separate conversation that's going on with you and Yuli to kind of fill that in. But then inevitably you keep editing and you change the music and you like trim some things up and you're like, oh, those lines of dialogue really can go and actually it makes the scene better. And so it ended up being the case that, and then Yuli did have a haircut and then we just like hit a point where it's like, that's
dang haircut, Yuli.
Just not going to work. And
All those haircuts. I tell you.
I don't remember when it was, but I did end up like dyeing my hair a different color. And I was like, well, it's too late now.
Yep. Isn't it funny how we have to keep our body in a certain way for things? My kid just got their nose pierced, and I was like, I kind of want to get my nose pierced. But I can't because that changes my look for a solid 6 weeks, and I can't do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. My one friend was like, you should get bangs. And I was like, I'm open to the idea, but then I need a new headshot and I'm not paying for it.
Right. It's like, so the haircut in itself is $150 and then the headshots are $400. So these are essentially $500 bangs. And then no, I get that. Especially as this color keeps growing in the top of my head that I didn't choose. And having to keep up with that, that's fun too. It's coming. Don't worry. You have some time, but it happens. So what's the trajectory for this project? You're releasing it pretty soon here.
We are. Yeah, we got a premiere here on the 11th.
Where's here?
Studio 35 in Clintonville. You can get your tickets at gentleembersmedia.com.
Okay.
And then it will be out on streaming.
Okay.
So it just got licensed by Amazon just picked it up.
Nice.
And Roku channel affiliate. And then there was one other that came through today that are licensing it. So hopefully it'll be out on streaming within 30 to 60 days.
Cool. Hopefully before Thanksgiving. So
hopefully before Thanksgiving. We're kind of fingers crossed. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, Thanksgiving dinner, I'll be like, everyone, stop.
This is what we're doing.
Turn on the TV.
Oh, that's amazing. Is there a rating to it?
There isn't a rating. If there were a rating, it would be an R for language.
Okay.
There's no content in it. There's no graphic violence or gunfights or stabbings. It's just a bunch of people having conversations.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And so people can find you.
Though there is a background murder, maybe.
Maybe. But that's the puppets. That's in the theatrical release or the unedited.
Yeah.
Director's cut.
Director's
there's
cut.
me a little puppet murder. But
I love that. Every show should have a puppet murder. I'm trying to work one into Fiddler on the Roof, but I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, cast. So people can find information where? Point them to, you said
gentleembersmedia.com,
Okay.
but also you can find us on YouTube, on Instagram at gentleembersmedia. That's where most of the stuff is going to get posted. We tend to be pretty Instagram and YouTube heavy.
Okay. That's exciting. So go to Studio 35.
Go to Studio 35. Get tickets ahead of time.
Okay.
We really do think that we might. It's not an enormous theater, and we're getting close, so we potentially could sell out. But so. Yeah, get your tickets ahead of time. Just going to make everything a lot easier.
That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a big deal.
Thank you.
This is not small potatoes. So well done. I'm proud of you both. Keep doing it. What's next for either of you? Anything otherwise coming up?
I am in a show at Curtain Players, Men on Boats.
Yeah.
That's in December.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of shooting a student film at Denison. I think that's it for now.
Okay. What's next for you?
I have a documentary that I'm making
Okay.
right now that hopefully will be out in the spring.
Very good.
And then we start shooting the second kind of narrative film in January.
Okay.
So
Keep on
basically
rolling.
trying to repeat this process, see if we can make something else that's going to be just as smooth. I kind
Love
of doubt it, but it should be fun.
Never know.
Yeah?
Throw it out there in the universe. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.